presentation on the WSO2 and cloud. We titled it A Match Made in Heaven because we believe that the two products are perfect for each other. Therefore, of course, it is a very good match. We were already quickly introduced by Usuma. So here are our mugshots, so you have a little bit of an idea who is actually presenting to you. What we're going to do today is we would like to have it as interactive as possible. You always have the possibility to ask us questions. What we're going to do today as well is that we're going to have a poll on some of the topics that we are going to discuss in this presentation on cloud and on the WSO2 products, especially in the area of the managed WSO2 cloud. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. Just a quick word about Yenlo. So we are a Dutch company, but actually we're expanding to other European countries as well as the United States, and we are focusing on integration of systems. And we are, as you can see, we think we're number one in many of these areas, but what's very important, we are a global strategic alliance partner of WSO2. So that means that we offer a whole set of services pertaining to the products of WSO2. So it's product support, development, quick starts, training and certifications. We offer managed services, and we organize WSO2 events as well as present to universities and colleges on WSO2. So when you look at that in a more graphical way, you get an overview like this. So you see we do development, managed services, enterprise architecture, etc., etc. When you want to go to our website, it's yenlo.com, you will find more information, among others the blogs that we've written about WSO2 and its products. Some of them are really for a non-technical audience, other ones are more technical and pertain to the use of WSO2 in certain circumstances. So I think that's enough said about Yenlo. Let's go to the agenda for today's call. So it's basically really an introduction to the WSO2 in cloud, and we're going to talk a little bit about what cloud computing actually is, because in many conversations we find that we can actually we need to explain what cloud computing is, and whether it's something that's very new or whether it's something that has been around for many years, that sort of thing. So then we're going to talk about WSO2 and cloud, what we offer, the private, the public, and the managed cloud. And finally we're going to end up with an overview of the managed WSO2 cloud in the two flavors that we actually or in the two flavors that we currently have. That's going to be followed by an overview of the outcome of the polls that we're going to have, and then we're going to end with the questions and answers session, where you can ask us any questions, and we answer them when we have the answer directly, or otherwise we'll get back to you with the answers if we need some more time or we need to dig in to some information. Okay, well, having said that, let's talk about, does IT really matter? And I think this article that Nicholas Carr wrote in the Harvard Business Review basically shook up the world, because we all thought that IT was so very important. But Nicholas Carr says IT is still important, but in his article he's telling us that it is not to your advantage to do everything yourself. It might very well be that there are parties that are far more agile in managing an infrastructure than you could ever be, unless you do it in the way that they would do it, which from a cost perspective is really is really not possible unless you are indeed one of the big companies that offers cloud computing. And he said this in 2003, almost 12 years ago, and long before the advent of cloud computing or even WSO2. So it's not that IT is not important. The only thing he is saying is that you could really consider doing it, letting other people do your cloud infrastructure for you, and hence we now see the growth of cloud in a tremendous way. But cloud computing is not really that old. It started in about 2006 when Amazon came with their cloud computing solution. At that time, it was nothing like it is now, and Amazon really basically they had a learning curve. They found that they were very good at managing their own online shopping environment and started doing it for other companies, including one of their biggest competitors. And from that management of that environment, they really moved into something that we now know as Amazon Web Services and Elastic Computing Cloud. So that's being first to market really has made them the market leader as far as public cloud services go. Microsoft and Google also offer cloud services as well as other vendors, big and small. Yenlo, we offer private cloud hosting in our data centers. And when you want to choose a cloud provider, it's something that needs to be done with care. And answering questions like where should the data center be located? What is your goal? Do you want EAS or PaaS or any of the other acronyms that are flying around? That sort of questions you need to answer when you want to do cloud computing. So can we have poll question 1, please? Okay, I think the poll is now closed. I'm in a disadvantage because I can't see the poll. I can only see a pop-up box going away. So we will talk about the poll results at the end of the presentation. So what you see is that all of the cloud providers, the major ones, are improving the speed and the quality and the available services that they are. So it's not something that is not changing. No, it's evolving quite considerably. Yeah, basically because they're improving it. They're getting better at it. They're getting and prices are also yeah, becoming lower. So it's not only that you're getting more, but you're paying less, which is always, in my opinion, a very good sign. So what's so special about cloud computing? Well, I found this quote. So it's a model for enabling a ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources, network servers, storage, applications, and services that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. So basically, you are very much in control with regards to cloud computing. The definition is from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and it describes some of the most important things. So it's on-demand self-service. If you want more computing power, you can quickly get that. You can have not only the servers, but also the storage. You can have load balancing and all other kinds of stuff. And in some cases, you share the resources with other ones. Share in the sense that you're both in the same data center, but your data is very much separated from the other ones. Otherwise, I don't think we ever would have gotten as far as we have now with the with cloud computing. And another thing that's very important is that it's the elasticity. So nowadays you can have in without any notice a large number of people visiting your website, and what you want is that your website is still responsive, that you still can offer the information or even the services that you are offering. So it's very important to be able to scale up and down when the resources are needed. And perhaps the most important thing about cloud computing is that it turned the world around, saying that you can now pay by the hour, and rather than you have to invest in computers, you have to invest in a data center, and you have to have people managing your data center. You can now have literally 1 hour of computing capacity a year without and you pay pennies, rather than you would have to buy the computer, maintain it, electricity, and stuff like that. So I think cloud computing is one of the biggest revolutions in the technology area from the last couple of years. So one of the things that we saw was that suddenly cloud computing became hip, and marketeers were quick to jump on the bandwagon and actually show or basically relabel their online services with cloud services. So you show, especially in the online storage, suddenly it's all cloud storage, and they really didn't change a bit. Basically, they just put a sticker over it and said, well, we're now offering cloud services. I think there is more to it than that, but well, if it's very hip, if it's on the Gartner Hypecycle, then you'll see that people want to jump on the bandwagon. So you see cloud computing now in almost at the lowest point of the trough of disillusionment. For those of you who are not familiar with the hype cycle, the basic premise of the hype cycle is that any technology will be hyped until the expectations are so big that it will never live up to the promises, and it will move to the trough of disillusionment because people were believing that cloud computing would solve all their problems, and it didn't. And slowly but surely moving out of that trough of disillusionment until the slope of enlightenment and the plateau of productivity. Is Gardner correct in this? I think that cloud computing might, in my opinion, might be further on the slope of enlightenment. As a reference, you see speech recognition at the very right side. I think that there are applications of speech recognition that have been available for many years that work perfectly fine. So it is good to see where you are, and depending on how much of a risk taker you are, this hype cycle will help you identify technologies that are more safe than other ones. Although I believe that cloud computing is something that if you're not trying it already, it is worth trying it out because it does bring a lot of benefits. from a managerial perspective, but also from a financial perspective. So one of the things that you saw on the previous slide is that the mention of hybrid cloud computing. So there are a number of flavors of cloud computing. The public cloud is owned by the service provider and is offered to many organizations. So if you want to go to Amazon, Google, or Microsoft, you can just have a piece of the cloud. Then you have the private cloud, which is very much owned by one organization, and there are only one or two organizations on it. And you have a sort of a mix, a hybrid cloud, where you have a piece that's private and a piece that's offered to other parties. The community cloud is something in between. The community cloud is private, but it's offered to a community. So let's say if a number of health insurance companies would have a cloud together, that would be a form of a community cloud. So now we know a little bit about the types of cloud, and I didn't really talk about the benefits. Perhaps we will get onto this later on. What you can also do, if you have questions about what the benefits are, just put them in the chat box, and we can answer them. So there are also another acronym is as a service. So basically, you have the infrastructure as a service, the platform as a service, and on top of that, software as a service. So the infrastructure as a service is basically the raw hardware with where you can do whatever you would like. So basically, you can have an instance on cloud computing and do whatever you like. You can install software on it. You can do other things. If you go one step further, then you go to the platform as a service, and the platform as a service is built on the infrastructure as a service, but it might have the operating system and or other services that you would need in order to operate it. And on top of that, you see software as a service, for instance, Salesforce, where there's actually a piece of software that you can just use without ever thinking about installing it, maintaining it, managing it, monitoring it, etc. The only thing you need to do is make some changes to your business, make some connections to, for instance, backend services and stuff like that. And it's often on a subscription basis, and I think that's one of the most important things that we see, that we increasingly see software not being a product, but software being a service. We see it in Salesforce, but we also see it with more, let's say, consumer oriented companies like Microsoft, who are now offering their Office suite as a service. So you just pay an X amount of money per month, and you can use it. And if you don't want to use it anymore, you stop paying, and you stop using it. So another thing that we already talked about a little bit is about where is the cloud. This is an overview from Amazon. And you see there are a number of clouds across the world, some in Asia Pac, some in Europe, and some in the United States. And why this is important is that, especially with privacy rules, in many cases organizations tend to find it very good to have the data close to home, and especially when you are a European company, having the data in Europe is actually preferable over the United States because of the Data Protective Act by the European Commission. And in some cases, local legislation, for instance in Germany, I believe that can prevent the data to be stored outside of Germany. I think with banking, that's it's one of the cases. So although we talk about a cloud, it's not that the cloud can be anywhere. All of the cloud providers offer the possibility to 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 show where your data is. In the most cases, just because you're choosing to host the cloud, host your software in Ireland or Frankfurt or Virginia or Oregon, or wherever you want to go. So I talked about a little bit about the pay-per-use, and I think that's a very important issue as well, because paying for what you actually use is one of the most important changes that really makes your financial people very happy, and perhaps if you're responsible for a budget as well. Um, we'll come back to that later, but I think it's one of the biggest changes where you can also get more grip on your on your budget. You know the number of months a year has. You know what you're paying for your cloud services per month, and then you have your budget. And if you use more, your budget is going to be higher. If you use less, your budget is going to be low. There are no sudden unexpected things that can happen. So with regards to that, we have 4 questions that I would now like to have in the poll. So let's start with question 3. After question 3, when you're ready, go to question 4, and then 5 and 6, with, of course, enough time to answer them.
So thank you very much, Rob. So I'll be taking on the webinar session from here onwards. My name is Isuru, and I represent WSO2 Cloud team. So let me begin with giving you a brief introduction about WSO2. So WSO2 is a 100% open source SOA middleware company, which provides a stack of more than 20 products to implement different layers in a SOA system. WSO2 currently has a customer base of more than 200 customers all around the world. Sorry about that, a small technical issue. So WSO2 currently has a customer base of more than 200 customers around the world and the highest density in the United States. WSO2 earn revenue by helping customers to become a connected business through many support services. So WSO2 and cloud. WSO2 Cloud Initiatives has been there from the early days of the company. WSO2 products were first introduced as a cloud platform in a system called WSO2 Stratos service. After deprecating this system, the current cloud model has arrived. Today, WSO2 deals with cloud in a broader perspective, and the solutions can be categorized as WSO2 Private Cloud, WSO2 Public Cloud, and WSO2 Managed Cloud. I will present details about these categories in the coming slides. WSO2 Private and Public Cloud Platform. The diagram shown in this slide depicts the components of both WSO2 Private Cloud and Public Cloud. According to the diagram, the bottommost layer is the IaaS layer. IaaS stands for Infrastructure as a Service, just like Rob described before. As diagram illustrates, WSO2 Private PaaS and the other WSO2 servers provide support for any of these IaaS vendors in deployment. WSO2 recommend using AWS, SUSE Cloud, and OpenStack mainly, since there are many deployments already done on these IaaS environments. Next, the layer above that is the mandatory enterprise PaaS, which is the cloud platform and an environment which allows developers to build applications and services over the internet. WSO2 Private PaaS is the WSO2 provided PaaS solution, which is based on Apache Stratos. Private PaaS differs from Apache Stratos by the WSO2 Carbon cartridges included. WSO2 Private PaaS framework extends the functionality of implementing agile and heterogeneous environments to deploy applications that run efficiently and scale elastically in the cloud. In the next layer, tasks such as application building, deploying, lifecycle management will get executed. This layer can be identified as a DevOps task layer, where WSO2 App Factory can be used as an out-of-the-box candidate. So what is WSO2 App Factory? WSO2 App Factory is a multi-tenant, elastic, and self-service enterprise DevOps platform. that enables multiple project teams to collaboratively create, run, and manage enterprise applications. Using WSO2 App Factory in this layer may be optional and would depend on client requirements. In WSO2 Public Cloud, this layer is exposed as a service which is known as the App Cloud. So this diagram that we described here illustrates the layers which should be there in an ideal cloud deployment. Any cloud deployment can be created upon these layers. So WSO2 Private Cloud. So in definition, private cloud is a cloud computing platform that is implemented within the corporate firewall under the control of an IT department maybe. Companies initiate private cloud projects to enable their IT infrastructure to become more capable of quickly adapting to continually evolving business needs and requirements. WSO2 Private Cloud can contain any WSO2 product along with WSO2 Private PaaS to achieve scalability if necessary. Any WSO2 cloud would have its multi-tenancy support out of the box since it is being part of the base Carbon platform. One of the most popular use cases of WSO2 Private Cloud is the Boeing Edge project. Boeing Edge is a PaaS solution implemented to reshape the process of maintaining customer relations within the famous airline company Boeing. The main requirement of this project was to help custom airlines to convert all the silo and unstandard data into common data formats that can be shared in a variety of ways. This private cloud contains products such as WSO2 Enterprise Service Bus, Business Process Server, Identity Server, and Governance Registry, along with WSO2 Private PaaS. So who would be beneficial from such a private cloud? A private cloud would be more beneficial for enterprise and government organizations who has major concerns about security and require more control over the company's data. And also a private cloud would allow an organization to secure overall system flexibility without limiting to what is being offered by a service provider. So in that slide, I think we are supposed to have a poll question. So can we have the poll question? So I think you had time to answer the poll question and you might have seen the results. So let's move into WSO2 Public Cloud. So WSO2 Public Cloud is the multi-tenanted public cloud of WSO2. This public service can be accessed via the URL given on the slide, wso2.com cloud. So WSO2 Cloud contains all major components we described before to become an ideal cloud. WSO2 Cloud is still in its beta stage anyway, and the use up to now has been free of charge. A payment scheme will soon be introduced to the system in order to provide more professional support for users. WSO2 Cloud is deployed on AWS EC2 infrastructure, which makes the system more reliable in availability. Currently, WSO2 Cloud contains only two clouds. One is App Cloud and the other is API Cloud. App Cloud is a DevOps cloud which allows applications to be built, deployed, and manage life cycles. Application development is also possible since App Cloud is integrated with the third-party online IDE named CodeNV. App Cloud is completely based on WSO2 DevOps framework known as WSO2 App Factory, like I explained before. API Cloud is the cloud offering of WSO2 API Manager, which allows you to create, publish, and subscribe to APIs. So let's have a quick look into WSO2 Cloud interfaces to identify the major functionalities and so. So when you access the WSO2.com cloud, you will be seeing this microsite of WSO2 Cloud from where you can sign up, or if you are already a member, you can sign in straight away. You can straight away access API Cloud, App Cloud from here. So when you sign in, you can first see the cloud management application of the WSO2 public cloud. This is the main page from where you can access the App Cloud and the API Cloud. By clicking on each of these clouds, you can access the corresponding cloud. So when we access the App Cloud, so you will see a page where all your applications will be listed out for your tenant. And you can add new applications as well. So when you click on application, you will be taken into a page like this. This reflects all the information about your web application, particularly the current status, all the branches, the repository URLs where your application code is stored, the production URL to be accessed. And when we take a look at the left side bar, there are many major functionalities that you can perform. The most important things are, one of them are repo and build. In here, you can build your application, you can create branches of your application, and you can also edit code if necessary with the CodeNV editor. And another important functionality is the creating databases. So in this page, you can add new databases to your application. These databases would be default MySQL. And another important aspect of App Cloud is that you are able to manage the lifecycle of your application. So when it's go to the governance functionality, you can manage the life cycles of your application. So when we access the API Cloud, you will be first go into the publisher page of the API Cloud. So you can add new APIs in this page, and you can browse the APIs since this is the publisher. So once the API is being published, it will get published to the API store. So this is the API store for your tenant, from where you can subscribe to your APIs and to other public APIs offered by other tenants. The subscription will provide you with the access token, which is necessary to access these APIs. So this demonstration we do here today would not be a complete demo to describe each and every functionality due to the time constraints. Please do access WSO2 knowledge base for more guidance. So we are going back to the slides. So next we have the benefits of using public cloud. First is the flexibility in usage. The flexibility in access is a benefit of using WSO2 Cloud, since it can be accessed as a service from any internet-enabled service. This flexibility can fulfill most computing requirements and can deliver the benefits to private and enterprise clients alike. Next is WSO2 Cloud. In WSO2 Cloud, resources are available on demand from the cloud's vast pool of resources, so that the applications that run on them can respond seamlessly to fluctuations in activity. This is known as the seamless scalability of WSO2 Cloud. Being cost effective. Currently, WSO2 Cloud is free of charge, but soon a payment method will be introduced. The proposed payment method is very reasonable, since payments will be charged per subscription and per overusage. And since the client does not have to worry about the cost of purchasing and maintaining infrastructure, it is very cost effective to use WSO2 public cloud. Location independence is another advantage. Since the availability of public cloud services through an internet connection ensures that the services are available wherever the client is located. This provides invaluable opportunities to enterprises such as remote access to applications or to support online collaborative development from multiple locations. Finally, the user would only need to worry about application and API development, whereas the service provider, that means us, would take care of the infrastructure management. So using WSO2 public cloud is beneficial for organizations which would show an immense growth in user demand for infrastructure, and also for those organizations which are not capable of maintaining the IT budget or a staff. WSO2 Managed Cloud. So WSO2 Managed Cloud is another professional service provided to clients who would implement cloud solutions using WSO2 products. So under this service, WSO2 would take the complete responsibility on setting up and managing the cloud on behalf of the client. WSO2 engineers would also work on required customizations for the products as requested by the client. Currently, this service would only be provided if AWS EC2 is used as IaaS layer. So in a managed cloud assignment, WSO2 engineers, particularly DevOps engineers, would do many tasks to implement and manage your cloud. First, the implementation of the setup agreed on architecture reviews will be set up by the WSO2 team. This includes setting up AWS virtual machines, install WSO2 products, and configure networking. Second, and the team would also provide installation and deployment automation scripts based on frameworks such as Puppet or Chef to make the process error-free and more methodical. Taking backups of databases and other data stores and provide mechanisms for disaster recovery is another advantage of having this managed cloud service. And the WSO team would also upgrade your system to new stable products of WSO2 as time goes on. Finally, the team will monitor system for errors and downtimes and make sure the system has less downtimes. So the managed cloud service is dedicated to a particular customer. Therefore, the charges would also be made in separate to other professional services provided by WSO2. The managed cloud is more beneficial to organizations which has requirements for a cloud but with limited expertise and experience on WSO2 products and DevOps tasks. So if you are interested on WSO2 managed cloud services, you can access this URL and request our support on this. So after this, Rob will be explaining a different flavor of managed cloud. This is a new managed cloud proposition offered by Yenlo in partnership with WSO2. So for that, I will hand over the webinar session back to Rob. So Rob, over to you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I was doing some work in the background. The reason why I had my browser open is that we are incorporating the poll information in the presentation, so that's the reason that it was open. So basically, the managed WSO2 cloud is, as Sura said, a new proposition, and it takes a different standpoint than the WSO2 proposition. What we envision is a sort of a base platform which has a number of the most used WSO2 products already bundled together in an environment. You see the API manager, of course, business activity monitor, application server, enterprise service bus, data service, as well as Cassandra and MySQL databases, all in a high availability solution. And we can or extend that with another 4 additional components. So the SEP, the complex event processor, the business process server, the business rule server, and the governance registry. And if you have a very big appetite for WSO2 components, then we can go one step further and we can add single WSO2 components that are not in that package uh, at this point. So you have the base platform, you can have additional components, and you can have some more components that you can choose depending on what your actual need is. So basically, what are the characteristics? The base platform, as I said, has the modules. Um, we're running on Amazon. Your choice of location. One of the reasons that we did the poll was that we really would like to know if you want to move beyond Amazon as a cloud provider for whatever reason that might be. It might be that you have a preference for another vendor because you're already doing business in another part of your organization with them, and it makes more sense. We offer basically also a lot of the stuff that's just been described, so the monitoring, the uptime, etc., etc. And we will have a number of SLA levels. We will likely include a WSO2 support. We will likely also in the pricing have the Amazon EC Square fees, and of course the whole monitoring, updates, patches, and stuff like that that you would need if you're running this in a commercial production environment. So what are the benefits? Well, what we think is very important, and that is one of the reasons that we actually offer this, is that we believe it makes sense to have one price for your platform. Why is that? Well, we believe, and that's one of the questions, and I'm very curious to see what the outcome is that we would like to tie the cost as much to the usage of the system as possible. So there are some things that we there are some things that we still need to iron out, and I just got a message that we didn't mention Q2, so the poll question 2. Let's just do poll question 2 now, please. Okay, I think we have Q2 now as well. So let's get back. I see there's also a typo on the screen. So it has the base platform and it has optional other requirements. To go back to that idea, I'm really curious what you think about the tying as much to the cost of to the usage as we can, and we even envision that we could do something per transaction or per request. So that if you, for instance, we tie it to the number of things that you sell. If you sell more, you pay more. If you sell less, you pay less. All within boundaries, of course, both to the upside as well as to the downside. So I'm very curious to see what you think about that idea from the poll in a couple of seconds. So uh, we think that we would like to offer it in a high availability setting from the start, and so that you can actually depend and run your business on it. And as I said, it's going to be a multi-tenant environment, so you will have your own environment, your own data, and all and stuff. But since the WSO2 products are all very much multi-tenant enabled from scratch, we believe it makes sense to do this in an environment where you share some of the stuff with other users. So if you have any more questions, you will find our email addresses and our telephone number down here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly go and get the poll results and put it in my slide deck. So I would like to hand it over to my fellow presenters, and while I'll do the integration of the two slide decks, and I'll be back as soon as possible. Can you take it over, guys?
Thanks, Rob. So with that, just wanted to mention as if you have any questions with regards to the webinar, please send them via chat, and we'll definitely be able to answer you looking into the questions if we have the time. And yeah, so let's wait till we get the question, and in the meantime, till Rob prepare the responses of the polls.
Okay, I think I can go back to the slides. Just so I'm going to show my screen again and start the presentation. So this, I haven't looked at the slides or the outcomes, so I'm doing this off the cuff. I think that overall, the majority is in favor of trying to cost as much to the usage as possible. So 45% agrees and 18% even strongly agrees. So that's something that's very important that we will try and keep in our minds to see what we can do. And if you have any ideas how we could do that, please get in touch with us with regards to what you would like. Would you like something per request, per transaction, or whatever? We would really love to know. I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. So having one single price is important for you. It's another question. So I think again here, the majority, well, there is, if you count neutral as positive, then the majority agrees. I think that it's not as big an issue as we thought it might be, as long as it's not too much shattered over all kinds of stuff. So let's go to the next one. I would like to pay per transaction or request instead of per hour. 33% disagrees. The rest is neutral, agrees, or strongly agrees. So I think we can do both. We can tie it to an hourly rate or a monthly rate, or we can say we would like to look into the transactions of the number of requests and make it in a form like that. So let's go to the next slide, and I would like to have a standard setup. So ESB, API Manager, Identity Server, and Business Activity Monitor. Again, the agree 50%. That's rather a large number, and some of the people strongly agree or disagree. I think that we with the two flavors of the managed cloud that we offer together, we can do both. We can have a standard setup. We can also have a very bespoke configuration, whatever you like, because it's in the end it's you who wants to use it, and it should fit your needs rather than the things that we think you need. So that's a very good outcome as well. I would like to include integration with my organization's existing systems in the price. Also, the majority is in agreement of that. When you have agree and strong agree together, then it's just over just the majority. This is very interesting to see how we can do it, and this is also one of the things that we are still looking into. How can we do that? Because as every organization is different, how can we do that in a fashion that will benefit both you and ourselves, that we know what we're going to do, and you know what what we are going to do. And the final one, if a host, no, is the final one or the pre-final one? If a hosted and managed WSO2 platform would be available, what features would you like to see? High availability in my region, and the choice of cloud provider. I think the last one is something that we should take into account, that there are more flavors of cloud than just Amazon. I think that's something that we can take away. High availability is something that I think but also WSO2 is something that we really think would make very much sense, and the numbers also of you also agree. And availability in my region, the same. When you're a European company, I said it before, it doesn't make sense to have to store your data in the United States, because you can get into a lot of trouble. That sounds a bit harsh, but you can have some issues with that. So having said that, and I want to choose my own cloud provider, well, 70% wants to have that choice, and 20% actually really wants to have that choice. So I think we should look into how we can do that. And I think that was the last one. So what we would like to do and ask you is help us define the managed cloud service. It is really something that we're currently working on. So we have an online survey. You probably got an invite to fill it in when you signed up for this webinar. I would again like to, if you haven't done it, please enter the survey and help us define the service, and make it as good as we can. And for those who do, we will raffle off two $50 Amazon gift cards that you can spend on books and stuff like that. I'm not sure whether you can spend it on Amazon Web Services, but if you win it and you really want to spend it on Amazon Web Service, I'm pretty sure we can make that work. So the link is down there. So with that, we are into the question and answer sessions. So let's see if we have any questions from the audience that we can answer. Can I have the first question, please? Okay. Let me just put it. Ask the question. The question is: we didn't talk about iPass. Is it the same as pass that was discussed? Isuru? Okay. Well, I have a bit of
Oh,
problems.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
Isuru,
Rob,
you
go on.
take it.
No, yes, Rob, you can take on.
No, no. My problem is I'm not sure what they mean with iPass.
So I think so. There is another kind of like a perspective about platform as a service as integration platform as a service. Uh, I'm also not sure pretty much about what it exactly does, but it's kind of like seems a suite of cloud service enabling development, execution, and governance of integration flows. So, according to the definition of the Gartner, it seems these tasks can be accomplished through our pass as well, the WSO2 private pass. But to go more deeper into it and how the how if it is providing a more integration, a kind of functionality, how it can be catered from private pass is something that we need to find out. I think we can provide more information, or we can include some information about that into our knowledge base in future maybe.
Okay. Let's see if we got another question. I think there was one more question. Let me see. Okay, the question is, how can I determine what the right cloud solution is for my organization? So, would I need a public cloud? Would I need a private cloud? Would I need Amazon or Google or Microsoft? That's a very big question. So, you sort of from your perspective, if you want to if you want to make that choice, what are the things that you should think about? You talked about
Yeah.
government, I think.
Yes, Rob. So basically, I think I explained some of the requirements that might an organization have when deciding what sort of a cloud that they should choose. So if a particular organization is interested in private cloud, that should be mainly because of the security concerns that they have on their data and the overall flexibility that the sometimes the flexibility can get uh, 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 can uh, would not get the same flexibility on a public cloud since it's provided by a service provider. So you can make your cloud the way you want it by having a private cloud. But the main reason would be in case if you have major concerns about the security of your data, it's better that you have a private cloud. But in case if you have a seamless growth in customer transactions and the load on your system, it's better that you go for a public cloud since the service providers has the responsibility of providing you with more infrastructure and the scalability. So, so those are the main things that you need to consider when deciding among a private cloud and a public cloud.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's also if you have a private cloud and how good are you? Look at what your goals are as an organization.